Your electricity bill should look simple. You use power, you pay for that power. But if you ever noticed your bill creeping up higher and higher each year, even when your usage hasn't changed, you've already noticed, even if the price of electricity doesn't increase, if they increase other fees, the total bill is still going to go up. I'm Jordan Bastian, co-founder of Icon Power and your host here at WattLab. We're diving into something that impacts every homeowner: utility rates and utility rate plans. So here's what's happening across the entire US. With the AI industry growing at a rapid pace, data centers are needed to keep up with that. And some of these data centers are massive. They're like planning up to 10 gigawatt data centers. The average nuclear power plant is 1 gigawatt. The biggest plant in the whole country is in Arizona. It's 3.8 gigawatts. Because these AI data centers, demand on the grid will double over the next 5 years. So when demand increases, if supply can't keep up, we all know what happens to the price. It's going to go up. But it's not just about one price for electricity anymore. Many utilities in different states, they now have what's called time of use rates. That means your power costs more during specific hours, and they're called on-peak hours. And of course, it's usually late in the afternoon and the evening when everyone's getting home, families are cooking, the AC is running when it's hot, you're plugging everything in, TVs, computers. So even if your total usage doesn't change, if you use power at the wrong time of day, it could dramatically increase the bill. On top of that, utilities are adjusting how they treat and credit solar customers. A few years ago, many offered full retail credits, maybe even further back than that. Basically, it's a one-to-one credit for any kilowatt hours you sent back to the grid. Now, most have shifted to what's called net billing, and you get a value for the power that you export to the grid, and that's getting less and less. So what does that mean for people that are thinking about solar? It means you need a system designed not just to produce energy, but to match your utilities rules and the rate plans they have just for solar customers. So in Arizona and Texas, here's a couple examples, because those are two of the states that we work in the most. And they highlight some of the most unique and different utility structures in the country. In Arizona, the biggest utility in the state is called APS, and customers are almost always on the time of use plan. The rates jump between 4 to 7. That's the peak time, right when the sun's going down, and your solar panels aren't producing as much. So without storage, you still end up buying a lot of expensive power during that peak time from the utility. That's why pairing solar plus a battery makes such a big difference here. You can store your excess energy during the day, or you can even use the grid at night when it's cheap to charge your battery when rates are really low. Then you discharge the battery when the utility would normally be really high and charge a premium. So you're not using the grid during peak times, you're using the solar and the battery. So properly sizing the system in Arizona is not about how many panels you can fit on the roof. It's about balancing the production with storage so you're covered during those peak hours. When your panels are producing is super important. Same with SRP. They build demand charges directly into their solar rates. Energy is measured in kilowatt hours. Power is measured in kilowatts. A demand charge measures how much power you're pulling from the grid in real time. Think about a hose. You think about a fire hydrant versus a garden hose. They measure that only during the expensive peak hours. So to handle that, batteries aren't just for shifting energy. They're about reducing or even eliminating demand charges. That way you don't get hit with really high electric bills. So in Arizona, a smart system really means solar plus storage working together for the right time and the right rate plan. So both APS and SRP, they have challenges. In Arizona, it's so hot. They manage the grid. When everyone gets home, the AC starts running, everyone's cooking, and having solar plus batteries actually helps reduce the burden on the grid. And that's why utilities are starting to launch what's called virtual power plants, or you might have heard of VPP. When demand's super high on the grid, you can get alerted on your app to sell power from your stored energy on your batteries back to the grid, and you could get a higher rate or higher value than you normally would for any excess power that you send back. Over in Texas, the landscape's a little different. The grid's deregulated. You're not forced to have one specific utility based off where you live. So that means you can shop around, choose from dozens or hundreds of retail providers. Some offer really good buyback plans when you have solar, and some don't. Some are even retail with one-to-one during certain times. But it really just depends on how much solar you can fit on your roof, and then figure out, okay, what best retail provider plan is best for you based off of that. So what percentage of power comes from the solar and how much comes from the grid, if any, and then we can help find the best retail provider based off of that. A well-designed system here usually aims to match your annual usage as closely as possible. But that doesn't mean solar isn't for you if you can't quite get 100%, or that doesn't mean you can't go over 100% if your usage is going to increase. And for homeowners who want extra protection from outages, which something people who live in Texas know all too well about, during the winter or summer when the grid fails, whether it's hurricanes or other storms, adding batteries creates real resilience while still taking advantage of the best retail solar plans. So the takeaway is this: solar is no longer a one-size-fits-all. Your savings aren't just based on how much sunlight hits your roof. It's about understanding your utility's rate structure and designing around it. At WattLab, we'll keep breaking this down with real utility bills and real savings, examples from homeowners who've already made the switch. That way you can see what's working, what's not working, how to make solar fit for your lifestyle, and what's important to you and your goals. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And the more you understand about your utility, the better prepared you'll be to take your power back. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. In our next video, we'll be pulling up actual bills to show you exactly how homeowners are beating rising utility rates with solar and storage combined.